Nancy. Grateful to be here today to have you sit in on this workshop. The name of our workshop is A Part Of, Not Apart From. We are going to read the 11th tradition. Our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. If anyone here represents a media agency, please contact Jeff R. The members of the North Central Indiana area of Narcotics Anonymous welcome you to the 4th annual We Grow With Love the 5th annual. God, I knew I was going to do that. We Grow With Love Convention. We'd like to thank you for joining with us in this celebration of recovery. We are deeply grateful to Narcotics Anonymous and find joy in being able to express our gratitude here with you, our family. In Narcotics Anonymous, we are certain that when we come together to share our lives and our loves with each other, a miracle happens. Our recovery takes hard work, courage, and commitment. Those are the things that carry us through as we seek the spiritual growth that comes from working the 12 steps. Never alone, we do this together and for each other, knowing that we need each other, because more than anything else, we grow with love. The preface to the basic text begins, "The full fruit of the labor of love lies in the harvest, and that always comes in its right season. For us, our season is now." Can someone please recite just for today? Yep, you know it.
Tell yourself, just for today, my thoughts will be on my recovery, living and enjoying life without the use of drugs. Just for today, I will have faith in someone in NA who believes in me and wants to help me in my recovery. Just for today, I will have a program. I will try to follow it to the best of my ability. Just for today, through NA, I will try to get a better perspective on my life. Just for today, I will be unafraid. My thoughts will be on my new associations, people who are not using and who have found a new way of life. So as long as we follow that way, we have nothing to fear.
Just for today. Okay, I'd like to introduce Skip, gentleman right here. He's going to speak for God, through God, on our topic, which is a part of, not apart from. Thanks, Skip, for being here.
Thank you.
You want to move it?
Yeah. Hi, I'm an addict. My name is Skip.
Hi, Skip.
Can we have another moment of silence to help us expound on God's love in this room? Thanks. Again, I'm an addict. My name is Skip.
Hi, Skip.
Gratefully recovering to the grace of God, the NA program, and you people. First off, I just like to say this is a special place in my life, and I've been here 5 years in a row, and God willing, I'll come as long as there's a convention here, because it's just a real special place. As far as the topic being a part of, it took a while for me to be a part, and I don't know about anybody else, but I like to find out what I'm a part of, before becoming a part of. I don't know if that sounds crazy, but so I had to learn a little bit about this program, before I jumped right in there to be a part of. I know I didn't want to be a part from, because I had did that for so long, with the isolation and stuff throughout my disease. I wasn't one of those socialites. I isolated, and at the end, I was getting high by myself. And I tried to stay apart from society at large. And I did a pretty good job of that. I lived in the basement. You know what I mean? And just went out to cop. Most of the time at the end of the road there. And coming to this program, I had to learn what I was a part of. And I've been here, a few AMs and PMs, and today I know what being a part of, means, and that means, today I'm a member of Narcotics Anonymous because it talks about in our third tradition that membership isn't automatic. There are some things I got to do here, and it's not because I say I'm an addict, it's because I do my chores in Narcotics Anonymous. That makes me a part of this program, and that means, doing NA work for NA pay, and sometimes it's things I don't like to do, you know, and going to those lengths where I'd rather be at home. I'd rather be upstairs watching the Bulls game, or rather be with my family, But today I have responsibilities in this program, that I'm committed to. And that was another strange word for me, is being committed to anything, because I wasn't even committed to a particular substance. I mean, anything would do, it wasn't, I wasn't like, faithful to anything, as far as substances go, so to be committed to something, took some time, but I know that service work is part of that for me, being a part of, part of this fellowship and doing the necessary things for this fellowship to grow and because, in my area, I'm grateful that we have a lot of meetings. Meetings are, any time of night or day. Excuse me. They have morning meetings, midnight meetings, noon meetings, meetings twice, 3 times a day sometimes, and sometimes, I know for me, I take that for granted that there's going to be a meeting there. And for a while I did that. I showed up at meetings, and the coffee was made, and, the chairs were set up, and, there was somebody sitting there, and I just walked in and, was there, and I was sharing my experience, and I started to look at, coming a little bit early and maybe putting on a pot of coffee, setting up some chairs, because meetings just don't happen. It takes a little bit of work and a little bit of effort, to put them on, and I felt a part of when I did that, when I participated, in the meeting, so that helped me to find out what a part of meant, also, in this program, being a part of the we of this program, and working, some spiritual principles into my life, the steps in Narcotics Anonymous and the traditions, all our steps begin with a we. So when I'm working a step, I'm not working it alone, I'm working it with all of you that are working the steps, because it's part of the we, and getting out of the I and participating, in my recovery, with you people, so for me, that's part of this program, being a part of is working some steps in narcotics, because it says, as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message. And it didn't say, it said our steps, Narcotics Anonymous, so, for me, working those steps, makes me a part of this we, and it's not an I anymore. I'm not alone anymore, so being part of this fellowship, which is a big part of, part of this program for me is the fellowship, because I need you people. I can't do this by myself. I was going through some stuff, a few months ago, and the fellowship, is what bailed me out, man. You know what I mean? Is being part of this fellowship, the meetings after the meetings, recovering addicts calling me on the phone, and stuff like that. Being part of this we and relying on the fellowship sometimes, because, like I said, I can go, it's familiar for me to go back to those old ways and to isolate, even in recovery. I can go back, man, and sit at home and stay in my stuff. And stay in that stink, and be comfortable in it, and not want to pick up the phone, after a meeting. If I show up, when I do, usually it's late, and I leave early before anybody even talks about coffee, so, it was different for me to, rely on the fellowship, and sometimes I have to do that, sometimes I need other addicts to pick me up, I believe that's how this program works, that's why when I go to meetings and I hear people share about having good days, sometimes I need to hear that, because I may be having a bad day. When somebody shares about a good day, that gives me hope. I may not want to listen to it at that point. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh man, here we go. But I know that, and when I hear it, when they're having a good day every day, I get scared. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, oh man, But when I hear them going through some pain and I happen to be having a good day, I can be there for them. With the help of my higher power. And I think that's how this program works, that we need each other. The first tradition talks about unity is a must, that we have to have unity in this fellowship, and if we expound on traditions, it says without traditions there would be no Narcotics Anonymous, so I look at that tradition, man, and that's a real powerful statement for me. It didn't say uniformity, it said unity, singleness of purpose, You know, we're here for two reasons: addiction and recovery. You know, and that makes me a part of. You know, anything else outside of that, you know, hey, I'll listen to it. But I know why I show up at meetings. You know, but that's because I'm a still suffering addict at times. You know, and I need you people in my life. You know, and being a part of this program is probably the most important thing in my life. You know, I have a family today. You know, I'm employed today. You know, a lot of those bridges that I burned using have been built back. You know, but without this program, none of that would have happened. You know, and I always have to say that. You know, when I got here, they gave me priorities, and I had to keep those priorities straight. God, the program, then me, and everybody else had to take a number. Because without those priorities in order, I get screwed up. You know, and God always got to be in the mix for me. You know, today I know that's what keeps me clean is my higher power. You people show me how to stay clean, because that's what I couldn't do. You know, was stay clean, stay stopped. You know, so I need those priorities in my life. You know, and as far as being the we, and then, you know, when I look at the we, you know, I'm grateful that I was given the opportunity to go to a World Convention, and it was in Baltimore, Maryland. It was the one before St. Louis, and they had these speakers from other countries, you know, and they had a speaker from Japan. And the only thing the guy could say was just for today. And everybody went wild. The crowd went wild, you know. And it was like, you know, it was just mind-boggling to think that all the way in Japan, somebody is reading the same literature. You talk about the we. The same, studying out the same book. You know, living life, trying to live their life the same way as we talk about unity, the same way we are on the other side of the kite. And that blew my mind. You talk about being a part of something. Today I'm a part of something, man, that changes life. Something that's positive, you know. And it's just mind-boggling. From where I come to where I'm at today, you know, it's just mind-boggling, you know. And if you feel that, you know, hey, you want to be a part of, man, you know, show up. You know, do some service work. You know, if you look at the symbol Narcotics Anonymous, it talks about self, God, society, and service. You know, and it's in that symbol. And today, you know, if I utilize those aspects in my recovery, I could find that balance, man, that I need. See, I'm an addict, man. I take everything to extremes, so I need balance in my life. You know, and for me, it's something new. You know, but when I practice it, I get better. You know, and an addict gave me an example of balance, man. It's a guy walking a tight wire. And you see a guy walking this wire, this high wire, and he's got a stick. And the stick is always moving to keep his balance. You know, and all he has is that awareness of when to move the stick. And see, this is what this program gives me, is the awareness. When I'm too much into something and I need to find some balance and get out of it and get into something else. You know, but I'm grateful to this I'm grateful to be part of this program. You know, it's a big part of my life. You know, it's given me a life. You know, and like I said, being a part of. You know, I don't want to find out what apart from means. You know, because you know I know where that'll take me. You know, I know when I stop doing service work. You know, when I stop working steps with a sponsor, when I stop picking up my literature, when I stop making meetings, I know what's going to happen. You know, I'm going to end up back there, you know, with them big gym shoe boys on the corner, you know what I mean, buying my fucking death, excuse my Spanish, you know, one bag, one fix, you know, one bottle at a time. And today I have a choice, man. I don't want to go back there. I'd rather be here, enjoying life. You know, this is a special place for me. Every time I come back here, I come here and I float away. You know, because I get that spiritual uplifting, man, that I need, the awakening of the spirit that the steps talks about. You know, today my spirit's awake, man. It ain't dead. It ain't dormant no more. Today I'm alive. I have feelings, emotions. You know, I'm a human being. You know, trying to enjoy my life today. You know, and it's only a result of being a part of this program. You know, and anybody can do it. The message of this program is that an addict, any addict, can stop using, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. You know, don't sell yourself short. You know, in recovery. You know, go reach for the stars, man. Reach for the stars in this program. You know, because if you could dream it, you can do it. You know, in this program, dreams come true in this program. You know, and if you feel you're not being a part of, man, you know, there ain't nothing to it but to do it. You know, jump in. There's always positions available. You know, I know at my area there always is. You know, the steps work for everyone. You know, and you know, so being a part of it's not as hard as, you know how they talk about we make mountains out of molehills, and it's not as hard, you know, as I think it would be. You know, sometimes it's not, you know, the big positions on area boards and this and that, you know, because it starts at the group. Sometimes it's just putting on a pot of coffee, setting up some chairs, you know, because it's all stuff that's got to be done. You know, but I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you people in my life. I'm grateful for this place, you know, and I'm grateful that I was able to share, you know, some experience with you, you know, because that's the only way I can keep it, you know, is by giving it away, you know. And today I don't want to, you know, get too right to fall off this tree, you know, life. You know, I know where I came from, and I don't want to go back, and I know what I have to do in order to stay here. You know, and like I said, sometimes I'd rather be up there watching Michael Jordan, you know, or something like that, you know, but, you know, I know where my bread is buttered, and that's, you know, this is where I need to be. You know, I've met a lot of beautiful people in this program, and I know that if I keep doing the things I'm doing, I'm gonna meet a lot more. You know, and if I haven't met you yet, you know, if I don't know your name, you know, keep coming back. I'll learn it. You know what I mean? And I hope to see you guys here next year for 6. Because God willing, the creek don't rise, I'm gonna be here. You know, and if the creek starts to rise, I'm giving one of you guys a call to come and get me. You know, because sometimes that happens. You know, sometimes life shows up and things happen in life, and we're not able to do things that, you know, we would like to do. You know, but my experience in this program, that when I'm going through something and I share about it, you know, usually an addict come and give me a hand up, you know, when I need it, you know, and that's been my experience. This program has never let me down, and you people have never let me down, you know. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful I'm a member of this fellowship, and I'd like to wish everybody here love, peace, and recovery, and I keep coming back.
Thanks, Skip. I want to announce that our next featured speaker is Anita.
Thank you. My name's Anita, and I am an addict.
Hi, Anita.
And I, too, am grateful to be a part of Narcotics Anonymous and to be a part of this convention. And to me, this seems like a retreat, a convention, and a camp out. I feel like I got a little bit of everything here. And it's beautiful. You know, the place is beautiful. This is my first time here. And I'm grateful that I am sharing today. My husband asked me if I wanted to do a workshop. I remember early in recovery, I would always find some kind of reason why I couldn't do it. You know, I'd be scared to death, and I'd be shaking. I would literally get sick before I would come and share. And today, I don't know, I feel honored today. You know, I've come a long way in my recovery, and that's because I do show up. And I am a part of a lot of things in recovery, you know. You know, I work at the group level, and I, you know, served at Region, and I served, you know, in my area, and I served on subcommittees and conventions. And I needed to do that for me, because when I came in here, I had no self-esteem at all, you know. And all my life, you know, before I even picked up a drug, I never felt a part of. I always felt different. I didn't feel a part of my family. I didn't feel a part of the kids at school. I didn't have a relationship. I didn't feel a part of my God that I have today. I always felt like apart from Him. And, you know, I just felt like, for some reason, I felt like I did something so bad in my life that God couldn't love me. And I just felt so distant for him. And I remember one day in my recovery, when I tried to go in this treatment center, and I was in there for almost 4 months, and I came out and I was worse than when I got in there because I heard some more stories that I didn't try yet. And I felt like such a friggin' failure, because everything I was trying, I got pregnant. I thought if I was just a mother, I'd stop using. If I get married, I'd stop using. If I changed my job, I'd stop using. And to me, I thought my last hope was to get in a treatment center, get on this methadone, get off it, and I'd be okay. And when I came out worse, I felt like such a failure. I didn't feel like I belonged to be a part of this life. And I remember being on my knees and asking my God to give me cancer. Not, kill me in my sleep gently, because I felt so not a part of this loving thing of life that I needed to be tortured somehow. I had no relationship with me. I had a really sick relationship with myself. And I walked down the street and I would see a group of people, and I swear I would cross the street to get away from them group of people because I'd hear them laughing, and I really believed that they were laughing at me. I'd have to cross the street, go in these alleys. I didn't care how long it took me to get to my destination, but I was not going to go in front of a group of people because I was not a part of that. I just felt so isolated, separated, so different, so unique, so much like a failure, that there was like no hope for me. And I remember seeing a group of people, a group of kids when I was a teenager on the corner. They were all there lagging and they were laughing, and I wanted to be a part of that because it looked happy. And I just wanted to be a part of something because everywhere I was going in my life, I didn't feel like a part of. I felt like such a fake, because I have a disease that's total self-centered. I think everybody's always thinking about me, and their thoughts are not very good. And everywhere I go, it's always about me. And when I leave the room, they're all going to talk about me. And with no self-esteem, I know it can't be good. There's nothing good that they can be talking about. So when I see these group of people like me, other addicts, I would call them, back then I felt like we were misfits of society and we all got together. It was just a blessing. But I became a part of that group, we got high together, and I felt good. For once I felt really good. I felt like I could really laugh and not care about anything. I stopped thinking about all these depressing thoughts, and I wanted to have all kinds of fun, and I would jump trains, and I would get on motorcycles. I would do ridiculous things. I went to places that I'd be scared to death to go to today. Places, but yet, I was afraid to say, hey, are you talking about me? Or I don't like that. What's going on here? I was afraid to ask questions because I was so afraid I was going to hear something really terrible. But yet I wasn't afraid to go in these neighborhoods all night long, all morning long, all by myself, and they all know that I'm fucked up. So they could take advantage of me, and they have taken advantage of me. I'm going to get raped. You think I'm going to go call the cops? I'm going to go finish my bag at home. Fuck the rape thing, forget me. The degradation I can do with because I've degraded myself all my life. Then I come in recovery, and they're asking me to be, a part of a group. Come out and have coffee afterwards. Call me up on the phone. How are you? What's going on? Read this book. Share with us. And I have today, I don't have a whole bunch of self-esteem, but I do have some self-esteem. I have a relationship with a God that I know is very loving. I'm a part of a loving relationship with my God. I'm a part of a work environment. When I used to go to work, I was always a part of. They never did good enough. They were all lazy. Always I had to think of things to be a part of, to be different, to be isolated. Today, through the steps, I know that I am powerless over people, places, and things, that I can be a part of a solution, or I can be part of the problem. When I apply the steps in my life today, I work in a pub, and it's mostly food, but at a certain time they start serving cocktails, and 4 out of 5 days I'm out of there, but I do serve some cocktails during lunchtime. All the girls that work there, not one of them is a mother. I'm a mother. They all drink. I don't drink. I used to say my grace at my meals. None of them say my grace, their grace. Here I am. I feel my disease. I feel like I'm not a part of. See, I have steps in my life today. I know that I'm not there to be compared to or to compare myself. you know, that this is my life and that's their life, you know. And you know, there's a girl there that will judge me, you know, because, you know, I don't go in the bathroom and snort cocaine, you know, and I don't drink, and I don't care what other people do. I mean, I care in my heart, but I've learned through this program that I can't be self-righteous either. I can't afford that, because I will be apart from, again, because I will be separated and isolated, think I'm better than, and I will be by myself. So I have some steps today, and really I have all the steps if I choose that. And what I'm going through right now in my life is I have a 14-year-old son. And thank God that I've been coming to these rooms for 5 years and listening to your experiences about your teenage children. You know, because it's not very pretty. You know, all of a sudden he's bigger than me and his mouth is like, you know, I'm just like totally powerless over it. You know, I can't, like when he was little, I could smack him in the lips and say, "No, you can't say no to me." He is just where he wants with his pants all the way down below his butt, and you know, he doesn't want to get up for school, and he. And this is the area in my life that I am having so much problem with. You know, it's like I heard in these rooms that, you know, we can surrender a lot of things to a higher power, but there's like certain areas that I want to hang on to because I think I can do better, and got to keep letting it go. And I'm just so grateful that I'm a part of this fellowship, that I heard these stories, because, you know, if I didn't hear these stories, I would have thought I was such a failure, because, see, that's the kind of disease I have. A disease that's waiting for me to get a hold of me to tell me that I'm worthless and no good and this thing ain't even going to work for me. You know, I keep coming around and I keep listening, and I listen to these experiences from other addicts, and your experiences, which is, for me, my second step, because it gives me hope. You know, I'm able to have an open mind to listen and say, well, you know, if it worked for them, they got through it and they didn't kill their kid or they didn't kill themselves, you know, I can do this thing too. You know, that I have a God and I'm going to trust him in my third step. That I am going to trust him. And I'm just, I don't know, I am grateful. You know, I came to this camp out and I really, truly wanted to kill my kid. And I'm thinking, you know, I'm never taking him to camp out again. And I'm watching my 5-year-old niece, and I got my 14-year-old son, and it is much easier to watch my 5-year-old niece. And but you know what? That's my retaliation. You know, my fixed manager control. And I don't want to be part of this the problem today. You know, I want to isolate. I isolated for a couple hours because that's what I do best. You know, that's my first instinct. You know, and here are the clocks at 3 o'clock over in my lodge, and for some reason I thought the time was all screwed up. I thought it was like an hour behind here. And here it's like almost 3:30. I got all these books. I says, I'm going to go and meditate a little bit before I come here. And when I says, no, I better go look and see if it's really 3:30. And here it was. I had some people from Indiana, because I'm from Chicago. And I'm hearing all these, you know, we got this time difference. And so, I don't know. Today I'm a part of life, you know. I got married in January, and my husband has 2 teenage children also, and we're grandparents today, you know, and I've been to many conventions, the World Convention that you were talking about, and the Japanese guy. You know, my father speaks Japanese, and I was so thrilled when I met these Japanese guys, and you know, and I got there just for today in Japan, and Japanese. And I remember the only word I knew how to say was thank you in Japanese. And when I said that, they were all excited. And when they said, you know, the words that they said in English, I remember how we all got excited. But it's, you know, I'm such a part of life. You know, just like Skip was saying, in the end of my addiction, I was totally alone in my bathroom and my bedroom. You know, I trusted nobody. I got high totally by myself because I didn't want nobody to take anything from me. And it was total degradation. And today I don't have to be part of that kind of scene. Today I have a lot of hope. I have a beautiful life. You know, I have recovery going on in my life. And I don't know, I have a God in my life. And that's the most beautiful feeling that I have received in Narcotics Anonymous. That I'm at peace with myself, because I'm myself, you know, I'm a self-destruction kind of person. And I lived my whole life in self-pity. And today I have a choice. You know, self-pity will kill me. And I have steps and tools, and I'm just real grateful that I'm clean and that I'm here, and I have hope that I am going to live out my son's teenage years. And because I have some steps today, and I have you people, I have experiences that I can, turn to, and I could keep sharing about, wherever I'm at. And with that, I'll keep coming back. Thank you.
Thank you both, Skip and Anita, for sharing. And now at this point, we'd like to open up the meeting to anyone who'd like to come up and share their experience, strength, and hope. Don't be a part of. Don't be a part from.
Start calling names here. No, no, I'm just playing.
All right.
Forced recovery.
I'm Bill, I'm an addict. Be a part and be a part of. I have a t-shirt I used to have to get to my sponsee that says that I got it from Chicago, be a part of, not apart from. But I've been involved in this convention for over 9 years. Not in this convention, but NNA, And I think that's what's kept me clean for being a part of. When I first came around, there was only probably 3 or 4 people in a meeting. We only had like 2 meetings going on when I came around. And we stuck together. Now we got 21 meetings in our area, and we got conventions all over, and we got world conventions, and like, Skip said, it made me feel a part, it made me feel like I'm worth something. Like this lady was saying, before I didn't think I was worth nothing. I was always, my eyes was always looking out at the ground all the time. I couldn't face nobody. Today I can face people. People ask me for suggestions today and still trying to hide from me. If I'm walking down the street, I didn't have to cross the street, they would. Because they don't want to see me or meet me because they figure something going on. But this program taught me a lot. I couldn't read or write when I came in these rooms. I still don't have no high school education, but I can read and write. I can, in my job, I got to write a lot. I don't know why I took that job for, man, as I hate writing and reading. But that's something that I had to be a part of. I had to do it. This program teach me that. This program teaches me, I got freedom today. I have a choice to do, what I like to do today. And like I said, I've been involved in this area, in our area, probably for over 9. The first 15 days I've been clean, I was involved. Somebody elected me as GSR, and I said, wow, I'll take it. I didn't know what it was, but I said, I'll take it. Because I said, wow, I'm a GSR. They didn't know what it was, they didn't even know what it meant, But, then the next thing I got in that. Most of that, at that time, I tell you, it made me a big head. Oh, yeah, I'm important now, I'm a GSR, you can't mess with me, I got the badge and all that stuff, and that's how I felt at the time. But now, like I said, I've been involved now. I'm the chairperson of the MCC convention, Mid-Coast conventions. We ain't had any for a couple of years now because we can't find nobody that wanted to do it. But I've been involved with that for over 7 years, and it's traveling a lot. Like I had to go from Fort Wayne to Chicago every month. Fort Wayne to Chicago every month. Then sometime to Wisconsin. Then sometime to Iowa. But this wasn't for this program, I couldn't do that. This program it teach me to be a part of and be responsible. And if I made a commitment, I had to kept that commitment up. And this program taught me that, how to do that. I didn't learn it the first 30 days I was in the program. I didn't learn it probably the first year I was in the program. But keep coming back and listening to y'all people, how y'all did it, y'all experienced what happened. That's what it's about. We learn, so we don't have to make the same mistakes again. We learn from, y'all mistakes. Okay, we don't have to do it that. Now we learn from that, so now we got to move on. Because today, I don't have to touch the stove and see if it's hot. Somebody says it's hot, I just say, okay, it's fine, it's hot. Before, I would have to touch it, to believe it was hot. Today I don't have to do that. And this program, teaching me a lot of things and teach me life on life terms. And today I built a new home. I just had a new home built. I got a new truck. But the program don't promise me that stuff. All it promised me is hope. And promised me freedom. But if you do the good stuff, this stuff happens. The dreams that Skip was talking about will come true if you do the footwork. It ain't gonna come true if you just sitting there dreaming all the time. You gotta get up and do the footwork. And things will change in your life. It has for me. I got 9 grandkids today. And man, they wear me down. And I got 2 of them, 4 of them with me today, but really 2 of them, that stays with me all the time mostly, you know. You know, and if it wasn't for this program, I couldn't handle it. Because this program teaches me how a little kid is going to react, you know, and how this person, you know, what age it would react. You know, I understand, but, you know, a lot of time I got to go to my prayer. You know, help me accept the things I can accept and change the things I can't. You know, and sometimes I got to go that close. You can't even change a 5-year-old kid. You know, when she wants to do something, he wants to do something, you know, you say, well, wait 10 minutes. Well, 10 minutes is a lifetime for them. You know, so you got to wait, you know, you got to play with them, you know, be with them, you know, and try to teach them different things, you know, and not get upset with them. You know, and this program teaches me to do that, you know, to learn how to live with my family and how to grow with them instead of fighting them and you know, going nuts with them. You know, I'm learning today how to live with them and step by step with them instead of before going off the wall, throw them against the wall, you know, and all that stuff. And I used to do that, you know. And this program teaches me to be a part of that. You know, this program teaches me to be a part of life and loving God. Today I do have a loving God. Before, my God was always a punishing God. My God used to be a punishing God. You know, figure if I did something wrong, well, he's going to punish me now because I did this. You know, but today my God's a loving God. You know, and he speaks through me, through y'all. You know, like the speakers we had today. You know, something I need to hear. Usually, you know, these people don't know it, but sometimes they talking, and we get maybe a little clip of what they're saying that we might need, that's what we need to hear. Maybe we might not know what else they're saying else, but we hear that little thing that we need to hear, and that, wow, okay, I see that, you know. And sometimes they said they would talk for 45 minutes, and we only hear 3 minutes of it, but that's the part we need to hear. Just like we go to our basic text reading. You know, we read this basic text over and over and over every Tuesday. You know, and each time we read it, oh, I didn't hear that last week from when we read it. You know, it's always something new coming out of it. You know, and this program teaching me that, you know, to be a part of. You know, and like Skip, I love this program. To save my life and give me a new life. You know, and I just love this program. And I love it. I've been here also 5 years in this convention, or whatever they want to call it, retreat. Whatever they want to call it, you know, but, you know, because it is small. You know, it ain't like Chicago, 8, 9, 3 or 4,000 people. You know, it's small and it's more roomy and it's more spiritual. You know, and I really love coming down here. You know, I see a lot of my friends every time I come down here. And like Skip say, every time I come down, I meet more people. You know, and I've been, like I said, I travel all over too. You know, and I meet people from all over, and it's just like, wow. You know, I didn't think there was that many addicts in the world. I thought I was the only addict. I thought I was the only one. And I had to go to the doctor one time for some shots, and he said something to me, and I react to him like, didn't everybody do that? You know, and I thought, you know, because my whole life I thought everybody always used something. Now, I didn't know there was any, what you call straight people out there, I guess you want to call them. I don't know what you would call them, but I never knew there was any of that kind of people. I thought we all used something. You know, and this program, you know, and this program gave me open-minded. And it's, like I said, it helped me grow, you know, and I will keep coming back. And I love this program. Now, hopefully, I can't say I won't be here next year, but if things go like they did this year, I will be here next year. You know, because I also learned this program teaching me is I can plan something, but don't never plan the results. So every time I plan the results and it don't work out, I'm upset. You know, so today I plan on doing things, but I don't plan the results. How it's going to come out. Like today, I bought my grill and stuff, so I'm going to have a cookout. Well, I bought it. If it rained, well, you know, I didn't plan that part, you know, like, so I wasn't going to be upset if it rained. So I would just take my little grill and go inside a building, you know. But today I don't plan that. I plan things today. This program teaches me how to plan things today. But it also taught me not to expect the results. Because every time I do, the results don't come out the way I planned them. And being an addict I am, I'm upset and going to take my ball and go home then. And I'll pass with that.
Thanks for sharing.
I'm an addict. My name's Troy.
Hey, Troy.
You know, I wasn't even sure if I was going to come to this workshop, and I'm real glad I'm here. You know, just being a part of, and through being a part of this fellowship, for me today, I've been able to be a part of other things through this fellowship. You know, through this fellowship, I was able, you know, to be a part of my mom's life for a year. he had always been around, but I never took much part. And she died 3 months ago. And I can say that I truly was able to be a part of her life. I was able to make an effort. Other things have happened. I have a sister many years older than me, who didn't want me to be a part of her child's life. And today I am. Today my nephew knows who I am. One of my, things that have, just from being a part of this fellowship, and for me, being a part of means I give back to this fellowship. I make coffee at least once a week. And I'm a GSR at a group, and I got big-headed at first, but it's nothing. There's nothing all that prestigious about service work, but it needs to be done. That's all it's about. It needs to be done, and I've got to give back to this fellowship what has been so freely given to me. And that's how I become a part of. And I'm grateful to be at this retreat this weekend. I'm staying a couple days. I'm not staying for the whole weekend. But I didn't have anything really planned for this weekend until about Wednesday, and I remembered, whoa, this is coming up, and I had met some people at ISNAC this year that were going to be here, and so I ended up here, and I'm grateful that I'm here, and I'll pass.
Thanks
for what you
My name's Moline and I'm an addict.
Hi, Moira.
I'm so tired. But it's such a good tired. Because I've done nothing but healthy things. So that's really cool. I was sitting here and I was listening to you guys share and thinking about how in my life I was so apart from. And Anita, I love you because you were talking about me, and I said, man, I really find that neat. That's really neat that this kind of stuff happens, And I remember an incident in my life when I was still a teenager, and I was in school, and I walked into the cafeteria because, I was one of those people that, even before I started using, I was always isolated, always alone, apart from, and so I walked in there and everybody was having a really good time, and it was loud and everybody was laughing and the place was full, and there was only one table with one chair, and that's where I sat, and I'm sitting there. Every other table is jam-packed. I mean, the people are fighting to get chairs, and I'm sitting there at this table by myself, and it really freaked me out when all of a sudden I couldn't hear all the laughter around me anymore. And I had shut people out so far that I was really alone. And I could see them, but I could not hear anything. And it scared me, and I just got up and left. I carry that around, and I shared earlier, and I was sharing it last night around the bonfire, and it was so intimate. And that's what I think I like about this place, that it's intimate. Because it's not large, and there's not that many people. As when I first got here Friday, my first thought was to isolate. That's what my disease tells me immediately at first. In any new situation, any place that I'm not comfortable, run, be by yourself. Because You don't have anything to say that these people want to hear. They're not going to talk to you anyway. You know, so I'm like, yeah, I need to go do this. I need to go, just, get in that safe little ball that I get in, the embryonic fetus position, and I went there and I went to do that, and I remembered, I said, Mo, you need to do some writing. So I pulled out my book because I brought all my tools with me, and I pulled out the book and the basic text and I started writing about who's an addict, and I started remembering about incidents when I was using alone and the kind of pain that I got into when I was alone, and it was really powerful. It was powerful enough to get me up out the room and bring me down where some people were and start talking. I remember growing up and I used to think, well, there is something wrong with me, because as a child I was physically abused and sexually, emotionally abused. So I carried a lot of guilt and shame with me, and I thought everybody knew this about me, even though nobody told nobody or nothing, but I knew they knew, So it was like, I'm not worthy for you to talk to, I'm not worthy for you to be a friend of mine, and for me to be a friend of yours. Because I'm a bad person, because this stuff is happening to me in my life. Nothing I have control over. But I figured, hey. And I think back on the thinkings of a little girl and the other children that grow up in those situations and they come along and they're thinking, and that it's so sad and so isolating and so painful, and it took a long time for me to realize that, it wasn't my fault and that when you're, dealing with sick people, their illness rubs off on you. But, and I was like, okay, so this is who I am, and it's something I have to work on every day, not isolating. And in my using, man, it was great. I always used alone. I didn't want people to know, first of all, that I was using, so it's kind of like always behind the closed windows, gotta shut everything down, close the curtains, don't answer the phone, make sure the answering machine is on, lock the door, and then I can use, I'm safe, So I'm like, okay. When I came into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, it was so weird because I remember my first meeting in treatment and I walked in the door and people hugged me and they just wanted to know who I was and oh, come on and, be a part of this, and I was like, wow. And I said, well, maybe I found a home, because I never felt like I had one before, and it was really cool because, they told me, well, get involved in service work, because that'll help you stay clean. And I was like, okay. It was like whatever they said, it's all right with me. I'll do that. And service work has gotten a very important part of my recovery. I recently moved to Northwest Indiana from Lake Borderline, and I was the area treasurer at Lake Borderline area in Illinois, and it was really a God blessing. It was a blessing when I moved to Northwest Indiana. That same position was open at their area, and I just kind of moved right on in there. And I said, this is cool, I said, I keep finding my spot, my niche, and I said, okay. Because service work, it helps me to give it back, and it's so important. I talk so much in meetings in that area about GSRs and their commitments and being there and knowing what their responsibilities are, because they're the most important people at area, and a lot of times they don't realize how much responsibility or power that they have, and I'm like, man, it's important for me to know that there's somebody there to open up that meeting, and they're just not meeting list, it's on the list and nobody actually goes and nobody actually is there, and man, I think about all that I have in my life today. I'm back in school full time and I'm having such a good year, because there was a point in my life where I thought that I burned up all my brain cells and I was an idiot and I couldn't possibly remember anything, and I went to school and man, and I'm on the dean's list and I'm like, well, dang, maybe I can do this thing, and this confidence and this belief in myself I get from you people, because you opened your arms up and said, come on in, Mo, you're okay. You're not a bad person. Come on in here. It's all right. And man, it's really overwhelming how much I've received from Narcotics Anonymous. And I would think, well, if somebody was there to give this to me, I have to give it to the next person coming in the door. It's like passing the torch. Somebody's got to be there to keep giving it, so somebody else can get it. I am truly blessed to be at this wonderful place. Because I don't know, I don't feel like it's a convention because I've been to a lot in the last 6 months and this doesn't feel like that. This is just a little wonderful place that I made up my mind that I'm coming every year. If it's going to be here, I'm going to be here, and to be a part of. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks.
I'm a recovering addict named Diane.
Hey, Diane.
Boy, there's a lot more people here than I thought would be with that relationship thing going on next door. Nothing's overflowing. Being a part of. When I first came around the tables of NA, I was just like engulfed, and I felt a part of, and that was good because I really didn't feel like I ever belonged anywhere before, and I didn't feel accepted, and I was always different from other people. And that was from the time that I was little. I was different, I had to sit in the front seat because somebody else might breathe my air. That was the line my family used. Don't breathe our air. So I always felt a little unique, and when I got here, thank God, I don't have to be unique anymore because there's a whole bunch of me in all these rooms. And it doesn't matter where I am, whether I'm in Michigan, which is where I got clean, or in Wisconsin, or Florida, or South Dakota. When I walk into these rooms, I'm part of. And I've had to redefine what that is over the years for me, because I'm very legalistic. Black and white, and that's it, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And so to me that meant that whether you liked me or not, I had to be a part of. And whether you wanted to be a part of my life or not, you were going to be a part of it. Early in my recovery, I was still taking hostages, and I didn't realize that's what I was doing. And I had to learn to redefine that for me. I come here, and I am very much a part of. And I don't remember who was talking about being a part of society. Today I am a part of that. I have a job that leads to isolation. It's real easy for me to lock into my house and not make it to meetings because of one crisis or another in my home, and I can do that, and it's something that I have to be aware of and to work at, and to not set up those walls. I've been coming around for a while, and I remember when I first started coming around, everybody was always so positive in meetings and everything was fine and wonderful. And I got like all this shit happening in my life, and I'm afraid to talk about it because I must not be doing this right because it's not all fine and wonderful. And I remember being in a meeting with a man, and for about 6 months after I moved to Texas, and I just kept thinking, God, I hope this man keeps coming back. I hope he keeps coming back. I was there when he picked up 18 or 20 years or something like that, clean. And I thought, how arrogant, And that man taught me that it's okay to come in here and be honest with you all and let you know what's going on in my life. And I don't have to walk in here and be fine and everything's wonderful and sunshiny. And I can be in pain, and I can tell you I don't feel a part of. I feel apart from, and that's my doing. not y'all's. It's mine. You know, but if I don't tell you that, how the hell are you going to know that? You know? And so I made a lot of mistakes over the years. And it was, I came here a few years ago with my fiance, and we ended up breaking up, and I live in a rather small town, and it was not good for me to go to the meetings there anymore. I mean, it happened. People are human, we're addicts, but we're also human. And I really tried to push that tide. You know, I walked in there and I'm going to be a part of, whether you want me to be a part of or not, and it caused a lot of problems. And it was my ego and my attitude, and I didn't feel a part of, and NA didn't work, and this sucks, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, you know. And I started withdrawing into my life because I can do that because of the job that I have. And I was getting pretty sick thinking. And there's a line in the text that says, some of us hang on out of sheer obstinance, you know, and I did. Somehow, not through my strength, but I think it's all you guys in my head. You know, I have a committee, but it's not just mine anymore because there's a lot of y'all up there, and you speak to me really loudly when I least want you to, or at least expect you to, and that makes me remember that I'm part of, you know. And I got on a meeting list. Geez, just like the old days. How about that? You know, went back to doing those same simple things that I used to do. And I got on a meeting list, a regional list, and I just started road tripping. And I started taking babies. You know, I go over to the treatment center, I grab some babies, and let's do this road trip. And it's like, wow, what an amazing thing, you know. But I get very tied up in my own shit, in my own head, and my own ego, and push tides a lot. You know, and causes problems, not so much out there, but definitely in here, you know. So when I'm feeling not a part of, I have to look at me and find out what am I not doing that I used to do, and why don't I start doing that again. A few months ago, and I have the best home group in the world. You know, if you don't have the best home group, well then you better get a new home group. You know, and I have the best sponsor now, and my home group is an hour 15 minutes away from my house. And people say to me, why do you do that? Well, shit, I can remember running from Miami up to New York, you know, in a weekend. That wasn't a problem, you know. Or from Miami up to Jax, or Tallahassee, Louisiana. Score dope. What the hell is an hour and 15 minutes for my home group? You know. And I'm in service. I'm not in, I did for a lot of years, I did area service, regional service, you know, that kind of stuff. Today, I don't know, my life is more simple today. And I grab babies, you know, and I have a van, I make it available. You know, people looked at me like I was nuts, some folks that know me, and they say, you know, I left my house at noon yesterday, and I drove south for, I don't know, an hour and some, and picked somebody up, and then I drove, I think it was southwest for, I don't know, 40 minutes or something like that, and grabbed somebody, and then I drove for 2 hours over to Milwaukee, you know, and grabbed somebody. To me, that's service, you know. I got really into, it was talking about being a GSR, like I'm a GSR, you know, and today it's more simple for me. I answer my phone at 3 o'clock in the morning when it rings, and that's being a part of, you know, and I listen a lot, and I just try to be there, because when I was out there, I wasn't able to be there for anybody, not for me or anybody else, you know. And today, being a part of is just being there, you know, and telling people that I love them, because I don't always get that chance. Some people have died in my life. I've lost some addicts to this disease, or because of this disease, and didn't get a chance to tell them I loved them. And today I take those opportunities to tell people I love them and I care about them, and I try to be there for them. And that's being a part of. And amazingly, they're there for me. When my dad died, I was not alone. my grandmother died, I was in a meeting, you know. I don't have to do this alone. I don't have to isolate. I can be a part of. And, you know, it's funny, we went to pick this gal up yesterday, and she's in one of those city, you know, you guys in the city, I don't get it, you know, but you have to go in and push buttons and get somebody to let you in the door and all that. And we're standing there, and one of the people with me says, well, what's her last name? And I went, shit, I don't know. First name's Kathy. They don't just put Kathy on the mailboxes down there so you can push them buttons, you know. Fortunately, somebody came in and we just kind of like went through the door with them. But, you know, I may not know your last name. That doesn't mean I don't care. And it doesn't mean we're not connected. It doesn't mean we're not part of, you know. Today I'm part of society, you know. A little over 13 years ago, I was being charged with child endangerment. And today I run a treatment foster home. The state gives me kids. Who would have thought? You know, there's a lot of miracles happening because of this fellowship and because I am part of. And I can't do this by myself. I can't do it without y'all, you know. And for that I'm grateful, because I fucked everything up on my own. So I'm glad you guys are here. And when I come and I see somebody that I met, you know, a gazillion years ago up in the UP at a camp out, and they show up in Indiana, of all places, you know. It's like, go figure, you know. And there's still that connection there, you know. And it's also a loud message, this program works, because they're here and I'm here and we're both clean. And somehow that happened, and not through anything that I do, and probably not through anything that anybody else does. It's just, this works. And we don't do it by ourselves, we do it with each other. And for me, that makes me a part of, and I'm very, very grateful for that. That'll pass. Thanks.
Got about 5 more minutes. Would anyone else like to share?
I'm an addict. My name's Mike D.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, Mike. I feel kind of guilty. That's why I'm up here sharing. I was asked to chair this meeting, and I thought I was going to go watch the game instead of coming to the meeting. And I thought about it, and I thought I want to be a part of this this meeting and this convention, and I feel more of a part of by getting up here and sharing that I was wrong to say I didn't want to be, you know, to avoid it for a Bulls game, because I'll hear what the score was after I get down here anyway. So I heard a lot of things I needed to hear from both Skip and Anita. I feel like I need to get more involved with my area or my home group and be more a part of, and start working positions again. I've kind of taken a couple years off, and when I first got in the program I was more a part of than I am now, and by coming to this meeting I've kind of opened my eyes back up a little bit that you need to get more involved. It was a part of my program from the beginning, being a GSR, and like Troy said, I mean, it's just a job that needs to be done, and there's always an opening if you're willing to serve, and I'm going to try to be more involved in my program, my home group. We out in Iowa, we are involved where Bill's gone, but with the MCC, and there's lots of areas we can go into to be more involved in our program and our groups. But that's really all I got. I'm just glad to be able to get up here and share, and I'm going to keep coming back.
Keep coming back, Mike.
Hi, everybody. I'm an addict. My name's Nancy. Grateful that you stayed and helped work on. a part of, not apart from. I know that there's one thing that I always need to remember is that my disease does like to have me apart from, and that I can be in a room full of people and still be apart from, because that's my choice today. It takes a lot of guts and desire to open up and expose that mask underneath the person that I present to you, and let you see the inner part of me that is scary and afraid. And I'm going to work on that later because I got to deal with that tomorrow. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for being here, and we're going to end the workshop and close with a group hug and the Serenity Prayer.